Hey everyone, so today I was just planning to make a couple of more casual videos, and I basically want to start off with a review of There by Tommy Orange. I have very few slightly negative or neutral things to say about it. It was quick to get through for my general speed, because usually I read very slowly. Let me start off with the writing style. I do give a half star to it because for the most part I think it's definitely very well done. There's only a couple issues that I have, especially towards the end. Either it got a little rushed or lazy or something like that, because at times it just seemed a little too simple and straightforward, and sometimes, again, especially towards the end, the sentences were just really short. Like a bunch of really short sentences were put in one same paragraph, and so it felt like it was being rushed, and that it was a little too simply explained, even though what was going on near the end was the most intense part of the novel, pretty much. So that was a little strange, but for the most part I think that it's really beautiful. It's pretty descriptive. It tends to give a bit more explanation than description at times, but it's it's simple to get through. You understand it. It doesn't affect the story itself negatively, but it's also not something that I would consider to be very special in terms of writing style. So now for the plot and storyline, which is a very strong point for this novel. So it centers on a bunch of different characters whose lives, at the end, they start merging together because of a certain event. And the characters are the next point, but I do really like the fact that the story really of each character naturally just gets into that same event, and it doesn't feel at all like a coincidence that they all ended up in the same place, because they do have a lot of things in common and so on. Now, speaking again about the ending, I felt, like I said, I already said that it felt a little bit rushed, and that also kind of takes away, but I still give it a full star, because again, that's mostly because of the writing style. Because I feel like the ending, even if this is, you might consider this somewhat of a spoiler, but even if the ending is not completely conclusive and tells you exactly how everything ended, I don't consider that to be a necessity for a novel, because things don't really ever end completely at any point, at least not in a story. In a novel, there's really no natural way in which things would end and you would consider it to be like a very conclusive ending. So I don't know, we might differ on that. But third point is characters, and for this I give another full star. It's a very strong point for this one too. I just really love the fact that their history, their childhood experiences, and the general things that they have gone through are things that explain how they are and how they act later on in life, how they react to things, and why they do the things they do. And all of them have very different personalities. They end up being antagonists at times to each other, but they're also well put together as humans and not even feeling like characters. I mean, they're so fleshed out. I definitely have to give it to this author. It doesn't even feel like fiction at times, to be honest. But sometimes, as I was reading it, I was like, wait a second, like, is this a collection of memoirs or something? But it's not. It's a novel. It's considered to be fiction, So the next point is depth, and to this I do give half a star. A lot of you might disagree with that, but to be honest, I feel like it's a little too in your face about the thoughts and the opinions of the characters. But I do enjoy it because I do find them to be, interesting and intelligent thoughts and opinions and views. But I feel like if I were to reread this, if I were to revisit this book, there wouldn't be a lot more to take from it in comparison to the first time that I read it. So it's not like I don't think, or I didn't get the feeling that there was a lot of subtlety, put here and there in terms of the story itself, which, you know, I may be wrong about. You can definitely tell me about it down below if you felt that there was a lot of hidden messages and feelings that were like implied here and there. That for the most part it was really straightforward, which is not the same thing as being preachy. Not putting people in a position of victim and perpetrator. They just are very different from each other in terms of how they were raised, what exactly they associate with being Indian or Native American. And something that I definitely noticed is that most of the characters, you know, they're all at least partly Native American, and most of them, it seemed even pretty much all of the characters were doubting their own nativeness and whether they were genuine enough. And you know, it was mentioned a lot throughout the book, but I didn't really see a lot of development of that theme, of that subject in particular. I did find the perspectives and the viewpoints to be really nice to read, because there's experiences that I'm just not really familiar with, like alcoholism and drinking in general. It's interesting that, you know, they have different, even though it was very common for the characters to have this problem, they all had a really different experience of it, because some of them saw it as something kind of embarrassing, and some of them would not take it so seriously. So the last point is my personal enjoyment of the book. I found it really fun to read, and it was just really dynamic. I mean, for one, because it's about different characters, but also these characters just have different voices and different terms that they use, different times, different ways that they speak when they are narrating in first person. It's really, I don't know, it's just really entertaining in a way, this book. And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously there's a lot of heavy topics in this book. There's rape, a lot of really, you know, there's murder, suicide, a lot of really heavy things like that. But it also has a bit of humor, I think, and that just really makes it easy to get through. And again, the writing style is also something that helps you kind of read it really fast. So I do think it's really easy to enjoy this book, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed as well if you have read it, and that you will if you haven't. So if you have, definitely tell me your thoughts on this book, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!